Advisory Airport, meeting together. It's 9 o'clock on February 2nd. We discussed previously that we would make every effort to be transparent. It will be on, YouTube and recorded, as a friendly reminder. The minutes have been emailed out to you, and at this point, has everybody had an opportunity to review the November minutes? I don't know, do I need a motion to approve minutes in an advisory?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so, right? Okay. Did anybody have any changes about the minutes, or they all looked okay? I wanted to do a quick update on our members. All of the members of the Board of Supervisors were invited to attend this morning, and I suspect some of them will be trickling in over the next 15 minutes or so. So I do want to change up the agenda a little bit with some easy items to get out of the way. But we did get a letter in from Harrison that he wanted to resign off the committee, and he would ask if any other members from the airport group wanted to, or from the Pilots Association wanted to attend the meetings. I have not heard anything about that.
I haven't heard anything either, but I can reach out to them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent they want a representative, that was part of the goal. Right, you're gonna wonder what that noise is the whole time. And Ross, have you heard anything from the Pilots Association?
No.
No, okay. So, yeah, if you want, you don't mind reaching out to them?
No, I don't mind.
Thanks. And you also spoke with someone from the Balloon Festival, right?
Yeah, I did reach out to Mark Donahue and let him know that he was certainly welcome to come to the meeting. For any prudent information that he felt would be, added benefit for him to sit in on. So he is aware, and we can certainly keep him in touch if anything come up airport related that he would be interested in for the Balloon Festival side of things as well. So he said he's all in, if need be, whenever available.
Great. And I know, Travis, again, thank you. I know you're our community representative. I have not heard from other people in the community that are interested in attending or being part of this. So I think you're the sole survivor there. And I think I told you before, we spoke with the chairman of the board in Washington County, who is very supportive, but doesn't feel the need to attend the meetings unless there's something. I know we talked about a bi-county effort there. So to that extent, I think our membership is somewhat situated on this advisory board, and we'll be able to move forward with who we have on board now. We did have a mission statement, thanks to our county attorney, that helped identify really the grasp of what we talked about in our first meeting in November. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review that mission statement. Is there any feedback or changes that anyone wants to make to it? Supervisor McDonald, I neglected to indicate that he is our additional Board of Supervisors rep on the advisory committee. I know last time we talked about having 2 representatives from the board. So Supervisor McDonald from Glens Falls, in case you aren't familiar with him, welcome. And you're also on the facilities committee, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So both of us are on that committee. So the mission statement looks okay to everyone? Okay, good. We talked about having meeting dates and times. All of you should have gotten the email from Amanda that had a calendar on it of meeting dates for the rest of the year. We're going to try to meet at 9 o'clock. We discussed last time that it should be for about an hour before the personnel meeting, so it will always be attached to the personnel agenda. But your calendar had all the dates for the rest of the year. I know we talked about revisiting the effectiveness of this group in a year's time. So if we feel like we're making headway and we want to keep it rolling, we can. Otherwise, we can dissolve it and make that recommendation to facilities as well. So far, so good? All right. I just want to skip over real quickly because I'd like to just discuss that and see if we've had any movement on it. We talked about the vending machine update. I know both Steve and Ross have had a chance to look into that, and I've confirmed over with Rich Air there is a soda vending machine there that's been there. But one of the concerns from the Pilots Association, and again, one of the great reasons of having them involved, was that they were concerned there wasn't an ability to have snacks or something quick to grab if the restaurant was not open during a time where they were hungry. So I just am wondering if we can do a quick update on where we're at with the vending machine and how we can hopefully get that installed. I don't know if you want to do that, Ross, or...
I've reached out to some vendors.
The bottom line is, we don't have a whole lot of, traffic through the terminal building, throughout the year to really justify some kind of a fresh food type of vending, cafe style type of vending machines, at the airport. We could do your standard chips and candy type of, and granola bar, that kind of thing, vending machine at the airport. The terminal building has been locked up after hours normally, so what we've done is, at the airport, we've just opened up the common areas of the firehouse to the pilots on the air side, so that when they come in after hours, they have access to restrooms, because the FBO has insisted that the terminal be locked up after hours, so, there is a opportunity to put vending machines in the firehouse, but there's not a lot of foot traffic, it's not somewhere that people congregate. It's, typically just, after hours, if a pilot needs to come in and FBO's closed, they don't need services, they have access to restrooms. It would provide it. I don't think it would get a whole lot of use, but, we could do that.
I noticed when I was over at the airport the other day where the soda machine is when you walk into the terminal, it's outside. I don't know if that's something that it would be an appropriate place for a vending machine, but I know you have also looked into it, Steve, so I was just hoping to get both feedback from the county and from the FBO's perspective on it.
Sure, as Ross has mentioned too, I had the same scenario, reaching out to other vendors as well, just to see if there was any viable option that would be available for the airport, and talking with several, one of which being Prestige vending services, and the bottom line is the biggest concern that they have is soda machines. They have a shelf life a lot longer than typical snack machines, so one of their first concerns is to make sure that it turns around revenue very quickly. In fact, most of them require like a $75 minimum weekly revenue from these machines. So that's one aspect they're looking at, but they're also looking at the staffing and the foot traffic, like Ross had mentioned too. But they said it definitely is doable if there's an existing contract to add on to, which he did believe the county did have a contract already in place with Prestige.
Yep.
And that's something that if the county does wish to proceed further with, he thought that versus a private entity, it might be more fruitful for the county to invest in something like that and just add it to the contract where it gets involved into the group cost, where they can justify their cost, because candy does have a short shelf life, if you will. Again, I express the sympathy with Ross too, in that, is it something you really want to put at the airport, being that we do have minimal foot traffic, especially in the winter time. It is an extra added benefit, there's nothing against that, but are we getting the best bang for the buck by just putting another vending machine out there?
Travis?
It might be an appropriate time to mention that in the contract, there is a discussion about the restaurant and the hours. And as far as I know, this element has not been modified or amended, but let me just read it to you. It's on page 19. Maintain and operate a restaurant in the terminal building with minimum hours 8 to 2 p.m. 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday from October 1st to October 30th, with minimum hours of 8 to 3, 7 days a week from May 1st to September 30th, and provide a reasonable menu selection at reasonable prices. That would seem to take away the issue of the vending machine, and I'm not saying that you have to live and die by the contract, but I think the contract needs to be the place that you look at first. And if these terms need to be modified, then they should be modified to make sense to everybody. But short of that, I think you've got to look at the contract and see what it says.
And Travis, hopefully a request came from this committee to look at the FBO contract and the master plan. The FBO contract should have been emailed out to everybody. The master plan, a link was emailed out that went to the website, so you can take a look at that. The budget is also on the website. I think to the extent, I recall being a member of facilities when this topic came up, and I'm sure our chairman can probably also lend some expertise to this, but I do know we had a meeting when Martin was still our county attorney. There were discussions of modifications to that contract, particularly because it was during that time of construction, during the construction phase. And I of course can let Rich Air speak for what they're doing in terms of lunch and dinner moving forward, but it might be an appropriate referral back to facilities to have that contract amended to reflect the discussions of that committee meeting. But Chairman Garrity.
Yeah, I've had conversations with Brian about it, and, we need to clarify the contract. Travis is right, we have a contract, and if it's not something we're living by, because there were some changes made to it, I've talked to Brian about that, we need to revisit that. But on the vending machine, who wanted the vending machine?
The Pilots Association, and it
So
is
why not give them
unfortunate
one and try it? I mean, we have a contract with Prestige, get a machine and put it there, and if it doesn't work out, you can remove it.
Okay.
I mean, to me, that's simple. It shouldn't take 2 months to, find a location that they have access to and let them try it. And if it doesn't work out, Prestige will certainly tell us it's not gonna work out.
Do you both agree that it's the fire, is that an appropriate place for it, or would you suggest?
I wouldn't think the firehouse would be the appropriate place for it. I don't know. I don't think you're gonna be able to put it outside, not
Well,
with food in
that's
it,
the
because the
need.
animals will try to get in it. But, I don't know. I mean, you ought to try to work on some of these easy things without getting this complicated. But
Yeah.
and we do need to look at the contract.
And again, the goal of this advisory committee is to be able to address issues like this that won't, have, the time that it needs in facilities, and to be able to make those recommendations. So I think, to your point, Travis, why don't we, kick over the contract to our county attorney and our facilities committee to amend where it needs to be amended, based on the reality of the situation, which, as we all know, breakfast is not something that's being offered at this time. It was discussed, and I will need to go back and find that committee meeting where I know that discussion did take place. Can you just give an update on when, lunch and dinners were
Yeah, as far as,
scheduled for that?
right now, lunch is gonna be reinstituted back, coming Memorial Day weekend. The idea that lunch isn't being served right now because the traffic flow doesn't constitute for having that service available. When the summertime it's a lot busier, obviously the lunch is definitely needed, so it'll be coming back during the summer months for sure. And I believe it'll be like noontime as it has been in the past. So lunch and dinner will be served starting Memorial Day and go right up to, I believe,
Columbus. Memorial Day to Columbus.
Memorial Day to Columbus, yep.
And just, if I may, I'm all for changing the contract or amending whatever, but it certainly was discussed and approved by all board members several years back, that that was the plan, the cafe would close, there would be a standalone restaurant, which there is, and it was discussed that, the cafe would be closing, so it's not that the board never discussed it, maybe it just never got into an official amendment to the contract, so to your point, we certainly can amend it, but it was certainly all discussed.
Right, well, my point is, I don't think that the contract ought to be something that like I got you kind of thing. I think it ought to be a living, breathing document that says, looks like things have changed, does this make more sense? I mean, for instance, on this whole deal we just talked about the $75 minimum, that the vending company wanted to see a turnover of that. I mean, to satisfy this problem, I could see you saying, you know what, I'm gonna guarantee there's 75% turnover, because I'm gonna give free lunches to this guy if it takes, if that's what it takes to get the 70, that's an easy thing to get through. Maybe a better idea than having to force, opening for lunch or breakfast that you lose a lot more money on that, $75 a week. So, the point is, I'm not saying that this document should be used as a club, but particularly if we're talking about you taking over more services, there has to be something that the county can go to and say, this is the understanding, and we'd like to hear from you, and if you think you can make things better by modifying it, let's talk about it.
Well, I agree with you there, but please understand, I've made this public at many town board meetings, even just because a plan is passed for me sometimes, I have many times where board members have come back, and they've said, geez, by the way, is there any way, I know we didn't get approved this, but would you help us in this, we're having a problem with the neighbors over here, would you do this? I'm always, open to helping out, just like for the simple fact, I took over the janitorial service almost 5 years ago because the county was, stressed, and I said, no problem, it's not my contract that I have to do it. I'm cleaning the facility myself, the pressure washer, the building, I'm mowing things that are not even my responsibility, but I'm happy to do it, and that's not part of the contract, so I'm always willing to go back and forth, and I see your point.
And I think your point's well taken, Travis. If we could refer it over to Brian to take a look and work that out before our next meeting, regarding the breakfast. It is something that does come up quite a bit in conversation. And also to the vending machine, I think,
Well, I'd like to see, come to some conclusion on vending. It's a vending machine. Do you want one or do you want one? If they want one, put one there, try it, put it next to the soda machine, or if the soda machine's outside.
yeah.
Yeah, the soda machine does have water as well.
Yeah.
Plus, a lot of times we do provide water and coffee
Yeah.
too.
But I just don't think they'll let you put a a food vending machine
Now,
outside.
we'll have to find an appropriate spot in the terminal building, which we're really tight for space as it is, but I guess we'll try and find a spot.
Try to find one and try it, and try it for a couple of months, and if it doesn't meet the criteria of our company, because we already have a contract with them, and then you can bring it back to committee and say, we tried it, it didn't get to use, we'll pull it out. It's a plug and, a little space.
Isn't there like a pilot's break room or like a little lunchroom or something in that building on the side?
There's a little, I guess.
Like a kitchenette?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a kitchenette area. It's not big enough to put a vending machine. We're really tight for space. If you go in there,
Yeah.
you'll see that there's a lot of windows and doors everywhere, so there's really not a
Right.
perfect spot is the problem.
I just noticed in Saratoga they had a little room where there wasn't a vending machine, but there were snacks and things like that made available for pilots. But so can we have Ross and Steve work with you, Rich, obviously, in figuring out?
I mean, yeah, if you guys supply the machine, we'll just have to figure out where to put it. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't,
Then we pull
we're
it.
all under the understanding that.
Yeah, pull it out if it doesn't
go.
work.
But I think to the point of the Pilots Association, and even though I do hope they decide to join back in and send a representative, because we want to address those concerns and have a healthy dialogue about it. I mean, this needs to be a private-public relationship that works successfully.
I mean,
So.
maybe we can reach out to Tom Cahill, because he lead a lot of the
Yep,
meetings.
Tom and I talk frequently, so.
So, yeah,
anytime.
Tom would be one that could possibly, we could ask him to come in.
Sure. So it's reasonable to assume that by the next meeting we'll have a resolution on our vending machine debacle.
If you just tell us, and we'll find a spot for it.
And Ross, can you work with Julie to make sure that contract is added on?
Certainly.
I can shed some light on the other issue because I have looked at that already.
Okay.
The original FBO contract did provide for certain hours for the cafe in the terminal. There was discussion at the time the lease was entered into with a different entity than the FBO operator for the standalone restaurant, that the plan included removing the cafe from the terminal, and that the hours for the standalone restaurant were going to be different. That was brought up before the facilities committee, and it was understood by everyone at those meetings, and Mr. Schermerhorn made a presentation and laid that out on the table. And the information in the file seems to also indicate that Martin understood that and agreed with that as well. That because the plan was changing for the facts on the ground, the language in the contract should be modified at some point. There were some drafts that he had prepared that didn't get signed, but it was clear from my review of the file and from the meetings, the minutes of the meetings, that they understood the standalone restaurant was not going to have the same hours as the cafe. Now, having said all that, I can prepare a proposed modification, an amendment agreement that any member of the facilities committee can ask to put on the agenda, or that Ross can ask to put on the agenda for the facilities committee. That's the decision that the committee would have to make, but that's the results of my investigation into what happened.
Excellent. So I think at this point, if you could put that on the agenda, and the committee can review it at the next facilities meeting.
No, she's good.
All right, good, thank you. So, any other discussion on those topics? I want to make sure by 9:30 we're able to give the floor over to Rich to discuss his proposal. Could we just talk briefly, please, about the parking circle? And I want to talk about what happened with this proposal. At this facilities meeting last week, Steve had mentioned to me that there was a proposal regarding the parking circle, and our chairman of the facilities committee, Dan Gerard, was very excited to see a proposal that might also include a walkway. During the Balloon Festival, it is a dangerous road for many of our pedestrians and our guests coming to any event at the airport. Hopefully, right, we continue to have a nice public flow. Hopefully your parking issue at the restaurant becomes so big they're walking down the sidewalk to get there, right? But we need a sidewalk. We'd like a sidewalk. Dan was very excited about the proposal, and also the concern about the one-way traffic, not being enforced. So because this came directly from Steve to Dan and referred over back to the committee, I wanted to give Steve the floor to talk a little bit about this proposal and see how the committee feels about it.
Sure. No, as Rachel mentioned, there was some discussion after a proposal come out to talk about a parking plan that needed to be put in place per the committee's request, the facilities committee. And obviously, this has been an ongoing issue since, probably for a good almost a year now, where traffic flow has not been consistent around the circle. There's been a lot of congestion around the new restaurant, which is a good problem. But we want to make sure everybody's safe and that there's parking adequate for everybody. One of the options was to put up signage, as is proposed in the original parking plan, to identify, areas that are not known maybe to the general public coming in, saying to the right, section B on the map is the general parking for airport, and then section A would be, the restaurant area, not implying that it's sole exclusivity for those purposes, but just to get a general feel for people so that the traffic flow would start to go around correctly the circle. The problem that I discovered during this review was, and also a concern of others was, we have people that aren't going to be able to go in that direction regardless. And I'm talking about like emergency vehicles, I'm talking about fueling service vehicles where they can't physically go around the circle in the correct traffic pattern to enter the emergency entrance, or to enter in the county gate number 2 by the restaurant parking. They would have to take a left immediately before the circle to enter those areas. So having said that, I thought of the idea, which I don't know if it's able to post or not on the viewing screen, but taking out the traffic circle altogether and adding additional parking. I can pass these out here as well. And basically saying that, okay, if the traffic circle isn't working out and it's causing a lot of congestion problems, why don't we look at getting rid of the traffic circle, adding parking on both sides of it, keeping the monument, of course, and the center area for possibly a pedestrian, cobblestone walkway or something in the future that would, one, alleviate the need for a separate sidewalk, if you will, for pedestrian walking through. The additional parking lot in the circle could be handicapped, but it could also be overflow for both airport and for restaurant. And the section C, which was up there right now, could all be designated for handicap parking, because in the reality of the parking situation, when people are coming to the airport, whether they're going out on a flight or going to maintenance and stuff, they're not going to be going through the side entrances or the vehicle gates. They're going to be accessing in and out through the terminal. And it seems to make sense in that perspective to have parking that would justify closer to the terminal, easier access for people walking to and from the terminal, but also provide extra overflow parking for short-term and long-term parking for the airport, as well as the restaurant needs as well. So this was my alternate plan that I had put forth. It wasn't officially proposed. I did shoot it out in an email and concerns that I had on the original parking plan to Ross back in January, or actually back in December. And so those are my thoughts. Again, it's been a concern of ours. It's a consistent concern now where we need to do something. But this is an alternate idea that we've thrown out there to see if that's something that may be more interested in and more feasible in providing versus trying to do the circles and the traffic signs.
Ross, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I saw this drawing here for the first time a couple days ago. I haven't really had a chance to give it a lot of thought, but yeah, I mean, I'll take a look at it and absolutely review it, discuss it with Steve, and I mean, the drawing looks nice.
Well, what I'd like to see happen, because I think there was an email that I saw with an attachment back in December 28th that was sent over, Ross, and I think at this point it's probably, our chairman of facilities was really interested in such a proposal, and I think many of the boards of the facilities committee. I'd like to make the recommendation that this does get onto the facilities committee meeting agenda for next month. You know, certainly cost is an issue here. Has there been a proposal on how this would be funded?
I know, no, we'll let
Rich,
Rich
you
speak on
really
that.
should be at the table.
I said I'd pay
He
for it.
said pay for it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll pay for it.
I think that in the interest of, and especially the emergency vehicles is what had caught the attention of both Dan and I, recognizing that we need to make sure that there's an ability to get to the field as quickly as possible. I also know that just the reality of that one-way circle is not incredibly functional. We do realize that, especially in high traffic times, that's not followed. There's not even an arrow on the road that really tells, you know, what way you're supposed to be going around that circle. So for the safety perspective as well. Now, Chairman Gerard's question was, is there a way to put a sidewalk in, you know, that goes down the side of the field? In some capacity to make it a little bit safer for people that are going to cross and do a little walkway.
Well, this certainly could add to that. I mean, like I said, the center park could be a cobblestone walkway, in the center. You know, if the county.
So if you paint a crosswalk where you come out of the parking lot over to the restaurant.
Sure, yeah. Or it could be, you know, you could simply just shorten the road on one side that already exists, the main entrance, or widen it slightly just to have a painted section that would be a
Right.
complete walkway. You wouldn't have to do a whole new concrete sidewalk or anything like that.
And if I may add, fortunately for the restaurant, the Fridays and Saturdays is becoming extremely popular. And again, we haven't been open that long. And I can see the consistency of popularity, keeps growing. And we're doing over 100 dinners. We did 121 dinners, I believe it was, on Saturday. And the parking lot was full on Saturday evening. So that additional parking certainly would help out. Again, I'm not always crazy about spending more money, but like I said, I will build it and I'll pave it, and I'll bear the cost of it if that's the direction the board wants to go.
And we appreciate that, Rich, and would certainly like to be able, if the committee agrees to get that on to facilities, with a recommendation over to seriously consider a change in that circle, like I said, especially for the safety elements of it, but maybe also including a new drawing that would have a sidewalk.
Yeah, can you just expand that drawing out a little bit bigger to show the other parking
Sure, we
spot
can do
next
that.
to the restaurant that are there now?
What Chairman Gerard also brought up was that just some type of a walkway on the side of the, you know, with the long driveway, because many times you find that people are walking everywhere. It doesn't have to be a Rockstar sidewalk, but he did want to talk a little bit about making some changes
Certainly
to that.
connect the two parking lots with a sidewalk.
Right.
Where the gazebo and the planer show, somewhere we could do a sidewalk there. I don't know, you know, crossing over from the additional parking with the restaurant, I think that just doing the hash marks and
Yeah.
labeling it crossing is probably the appropriate thing in that area.
Any other feedback or comments regarding this?
Rachel, were you, I don't know if I was misunderstanding, but were you alluding to that, the long driveway headed out to the road?
Yeah.
Having a, all right, that's what I imagined, because I mean, the balloon festival this year, I was down in the very front, and making sure that people were on one side or another, there wasn't any distinction of where these people would, you know, would go, and they would, you know, kind of walk in front of traffic sometimes, so I think that's, that would be great to have on the agenda for next month, just for discussion at the very least.
And I just had a thought too, and I don't wanna make more work, but another option would be is to take out 5 feet of the center of the road and just mull it up and make it grass, something for a walkway type atmosphere. So that you have now one-way traffic in and one-way traffic out, vehicle-wise, as an option, and then that continues the walkway right through the center of the terminal too, but, just a thought.
Yeah.
Like I said, that all can be hashed
Okay.
out in
Okay.
more details, but at least something like this.
Yeah,
Keep it
I mean,
simple.
just remember, the Balloon Fest is a 3-day event.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. You know, you need to concentrate on foot traffic for the Balloon Fest, but I mean, that shouldn't,
It could just
let's-
be more distinct
Just-
lining.
let's, yeah, but there are things we can do for that on a temporary basis. I wouldn't, let's not cloud up the issue of getting parking spots.
Right, and I think Chairman Gerard had expressed how supportive he was of this and really wanted to take a look outside the box and creatively and see if we could come up with some solutions, given all of the time that's been spent recently talking about parking. So, if we can work that out before the facilities committee and be ready to present to them a proposal. That would be great, you know, working with Ross MSD. So thank you. I think was there anything else? I think that at this point what I'd like to do is invite Rich Skimmelhorn to speak with the committee. This is a direct referral out of facilities to discuss with us a proposal moving forward to
Rich, before you start, with
yes,
your
Brian.
indulgence, I know I've spoken to your counsel, and he understands this. I know that you understand this. I know you understand this point. I want to make sure it's on the record.
Please.
What Mr. Skimmelhorn is going to present here, I understand, is an idea for a proposal to restructure the FBO contract or replace the FBO contract when it expires or at some time before that, perhaps. Insofar as this is merely an advisory body, the decision can only be made by the committee and ultimately by the board. Anything that Mr. Skimmelhorn presents here today is not necessarily the way that any competitive process or request for proposal will be structured. It's an idea. Any member of the public is free to give these ideas through whatever way to the committee and to the board. The ultimate decision on what's going to happen at the airport is up to the board. Mr. Skimmelhorn knows he doesn't get any competitive advantage if there's an open competitive process. Everyone understands that. I just wanted to make sure that was clear on the record. Thank you.
That's yes, understood. I just want to, before I make my presentation, it was back in 2017 that the requests from board members had been coming in about, you know, different ideas for FBO, how to save money, how to generate more revenue. And, you know, one of the things I've always said is, I said, you make money by saving money. And, again, this is not a, anything that's, I'm not being, saying that anything's wrong. I'm not attacking anybody. I've clearly been asked by the board to come up with ideas. And I'll just read you quickly my presentation of what I'm thinking when my contract is up in 2 years, which I understand would have to go to a public bid and all that other stuff. But anyways, this is my second presentation. My first presentation where I offered to provide all the field and general maintenance of the airfield while saving the county an estimated $400,000 did not generate the interest I thought it would. I guess you could say I was surprised and disappointed with this. I thought saving the taxpayers' money was pretty important. Me being a very large taxpayer, that's why it's important to me to present this. At the last facilities meeting, some of the committee members seemed to be focused on creating new guidelines for the FBO operator. They wanted payments to be higher, but they had no benchmark. What are the other local FBOs paying? So another $5,000 or $10,000 from the next FBO operator would be the desired result. Even though we guarantee $70,000 to the county, and the previous FBO guaranteed $25,000 and struggled to pay that, the county is looking for more. But this would not solve the larger problem. The county spends too much to maintain the airport. They have trimmed their loss at the airport to a shade under $600,000. Past year saw losses exceeding $700,000. Some of you have said, why don't we let Skimmelhorn run it for nothing? Well, here you go. That is what I'm offering. Keep in mind that I'm doing this with the assurance from Jeff Tennyson that the Department of Public Works can and will absorb the current airport workers and the airport manager into the open positions there, so there will be no job loss. As long as the county leaves me to operate the airport under FAA and county guidelines, but without the county interference, that operation will cost the county nothing. So I also provided a proposal that I guess everyone can read, but basically what I'm saying is I'll operate the airport as I have, and again, we have to remember I've been there 8 years now. I'm there 7 days a week, and we don't work 9 to 5 hours. We're there 12, 13, 14, sometimes 24 hours. I've had the guys spend the night over there. So we're always there. We're always on hand. So it is very beneficial. I currently employ, right now I think I currently employ 92 individuals. I have 14 people that just do grounds and maintenance for me, which is nothing more than, well, I have more than that for snow removal, but for grounds and maintenance. So to take these tasks on that the airport is doing now is not a burden. This is nothing new to my company. If we go back to 2017 or 2013 on April 17th, Ross did a very, very detailed breakdown of airport maintenance duties and description of what is done at the airport. Now, keep in mind, this airport is no different than the rest of the airports in the United States. They all have to be maintained under FAA guidelines. So, We're doing that now, with the cooperation of the county, vice versa. This is nothing more than just an avenue for the county to explore when my contract is up in 2 years. And the reason I say that is there's certain preparation that would need to be done for us to prepare if this was something to even be considered, that the county was going to consider it. If it wasn't considered, again, I'm still happy to be involved with the airport. As you know, I don't know if you can put the map up of the buildings, Steve, the one that was supplied of the,
I did, yeah.
Just let me see. Thank you.
Did you see what one we're talking about?
Yeah, that one.
This is the last one you also, yesterday.
you don't think you have that one?
No, if it
Okay.
came late,
That's all right. I have one right here, thank you. If I briefly might just, now that everyone has a copy of the map, if you look on here, you'll see that buildings 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are already existing hangars, and those are all filled with corporate jets right now. And if you look to the far north, you'll see circled number 19 and 20. Mine got cut off here. But 19 and 20 are the recent T hangars I completed 2 years ago. There's 19 units there. Those are completely filled with general aviation planes, which are propeller planes. Number 22 has been under lease for 2 years. That's one we're amending to move it back 12 feet because we had an electrical vault that was in the way of the building. And then numbers 24 and 25, those are the hangars that I'm proposing next. We're just waiting for an environmental sign-off so that I can get started with those in the spring. Because keep in mind, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are completely full with base jets. So I now have 5 base jets at Warren County, and when I came on, there was 0. These larger hangars that I'm building in the back will not only help with transients, but I've already had another request for some larger airplanes, but I have a good problem. I'm out of hangars. So if you skip over to number 22, that's, oh, well, I already mentioned that. 21 is the restaurant now. So everything circled in yellow are all things that are committed under 40-year land leases, which I pay the county regardless if I run the FBO or not. These are land leases that will continue for 40 years where I pay payments to the county. Now, I am willing, and I've said this before, everything that's circled in orange right now, and I'm going to start with 13 and 14 because I know Ross has a state grant in. None of us know whether the state grant will be issued for those T hangars. Those are in badly need of repair. I bet they're probably at least 45 years old, if not more. If I'm just mentioning this now to show my willingness to keep supporting this airport, I will rebuild these if the grant doesn't go through. If we found out next week, I would come in the following week, give you a proposal, and I'd start them in the spring, have them done by the fall. Again, everything over there is full, so there's a need for the stuff I'm building. Number 11 is the older big main hangar. Again, that's probably 45, 50 years old. It's the original hangar. Again, I'm happy to do another 40-year land lease. I'll rebuild that. I'm just pointing this out again to show my willingness and my commitment to this airport. Number 9 is another building I've discussed. It's right next to the restaurant. It's a very, very small building. It's in bad need of repair. The roof leaks. It's not an insulated building. Right now we use it for storage. We keep our golf carts in it and chalks and stuff for the airplanes. But I just wanted to point that out. And if you look,
The one blue circle is ESMI. They built a hangar for their 3 or 4 airplanes that they have. Great tenants of the airport. That's Tom Longi's group. But if you look at the investments that have been made since I took over 8 years ago, everything in yellow is me. The orange is the county, which has been pre-existing. So you can see I've made a substantial investment in this airport. So I do take this very serious. So again, if you know, I know I throw these proposals out, but you can also understand that I'm looking to protect the investments that I've put in there. I mean, this is not hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've spent. It's millions of dollars I've put in, and this is all my own money. This is, and then also keep in mind, these buildings of mine are all on the tax rolls. These are not tax-free. These are all on the tax roll. So there's nothing, because some people think I'm getting something for nothing. I'm putting a lot of investment in here. I also have a passion for this airport. I want to see it do well. I hope the expansion goes well, or goes through, but if it doesn't, I'm still committed to this airport. But again, my proposal would be everything inside the fence, and again, I understand a lot of details would have to be worked out if any such proposal was going to be considered with us taking over the operations, but that's why I thought it was important to bring it up now, because we basically have 23 months left until my contract runs out, and I think not just out of fairness to me, but to the county and everyone else, to transition people, we'd have to start something going forward now, if it's even going to be entertained. But I'm open for questions if anybody has anything.
Rich, is there any, are there any assumptions in here that would like be a deal killer? For instance, if the extension didn't go through, would that be a concern?
No. Matter of fact, I knew this was going to come up. Should the extension go through, I will still commit, because that's going to be another issue. Well, Rich, if the 1,000 feet goes on, are you going to mow that? Are you going to maintain that 1,000 feet? I would, but I'd probably want to say I'd like the rights to reserve, at least saying maybe it may be $25,000 or something. I'd like something that could, because I don't know what I haven't really seen the final official plan of what I'd be maintaining. I understand there'd be another 1,000 feet of runway at the same width and 1,000 feet, but you know, the grounds around it, I probably just want to leave that open just to be able to look at that. But I could certainly do it at a very minimal cost. And I would request a 20-year lease, which is not uncommon with most FBOs, especially with a substantial investment that I'm putting into to the airport.
Supervisor McDevitt?
Thank you, Rachel. On the one, just for my edification here, the 4th paragraph, Rich, all development and maintenance other than will be the county's responsibility. That would be, what potentially would that be?
Would be the county's responsibility, you mean?
Yeah, what development or maintenance other than what you're doing would the county?
The county, because their central fuel station, as you come in the entrance to the airport, to the left is their central fuel station. That's where the police cars, that's where the not fire trucks, the buses, that's the Warren County's fueling station over there. That's outside what we call the fence. I would still ask that they maintain that entranceway, the fuel farm, which is theirs. So there will be some minimal cost to the airport, but nothing substantial.
I have a question, Rich. Is it, and is this something that, I like the idea, of course, of being able to save the taxpayers such a substantial amount of money, but is it something, we're talking 2 years down the road, which of course was part of this advisory group, was to start looking at that contract and preparing for an RFP recommendation to the facilities committee, within the legal guidelines that Brian has stated earlier today. Is it something that has to wait 2 years? I've had a lot of people say, well, you know, how comfortable is Rich, you know, if we go out to bid now?
I would entertain it sooner, but knowing that the time that it takes for all of us to get together and to put a proper plan in place, I feel that it may take that long, rather than rush it, because obviously it's got to be foolproof for the county, but it also has to be very well written for me as well, to make sure that all responsibilities and duties are covered. So, but I'm not saying I wouldn't entertain it sooner, but I honestly think it's going to take 2 years. Because honestly, there's things that Steve, like issuing NOTAMs, there's some things I'd have to send him to school on, to get us up to speed with a few other things, that are FAA requirements, to do this.
Are there other questions from anyone?
Yeah, I got here a little late, but I apologize for that. You're releasing it, so the county still owns it, the school taxes and so forth, well then, that, nothing will change there?
Right. We've got two things here. The buildings that I've built, they're all circled in yellow.
Right.
They're all on the tax roll. That'll never change. That's a separate agreement that I have. They're 40-year land leases. That'll never go away, unless I defaulted. But that'll never happen. I'm talking about the next contract, when my FBO contract is up in 2 years. I'm talking about a proposal where the FBO takes over all operations. And what I'm saying is, I'll take it over for zero, but all incoming income that's produced from fuel sales, from ramp fees, any revenue would be kept with me. And I'm taking a gamble because I don't know what the next 20 years will be. But what I think would be the win-win is the taxpayers basically see an airport being ran for zero. Now, I say zero, and I know there's going to be some pushback. There will be certain items that will have to be discussed where the county will still have to have some involvement. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think it's going to be a significant amount of money.
So the tax situation then, technically, you won't be paying any school taxes?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't answer your question fully. All those buildings in yellow, that agreement doesn't change. They're all on the tax rolls now.
Right.
I've been at, building one, for example, was built 9 years ago. It's been on the tax roll since I built it.
Right.
Every time I build, they come out, they reassess. So these are all on the tax roll, and I pay taxes on all these.
So would the rest of the airport be on the tax roll?
No, because you own it, you're the sponsor. All I'm doing is leasing it from the airport for...
So nothing would change there?
Nothing would change. I'm just taking over all the duties, and we estimated just a rough number. You're saving about $534,000. So.
Just one follow-up question. So, you know, just for me looking at it, obviously, I'm for that, because if we can save $500,000 a year, I know we're gonna have to think about the current employees. I think there's 4 or 5 out there that are gonna have to be addressed if this changes. And
Total of 4. I talked to Jeff on Thursday, and he said that no matter what decision the board make, he would absorb those 4 people. And I made it very clear 3 years ago to the Post-Star that I wouldn't entertain this because they're great guys out there. I have no issue with them. And I would want to make sure that they are provided for through Department of Public Works, that there wouldn't be job loss.
So, I guess from a business standpoint, so I'm sitting here thinking, as a county supervisor, just from looking at it, I love it, but I gotta dig a little deeper. But from a business standpoint, if I see how you're gonna make it up, you're gonna have to pay your people to do all these things and so forth and so on, you know. And so I guess, you know your stuff. I mean, you're super successful. But I'm wondering how you're going to generate enough revenue to make up and, and do those things that right now, you know, we lose, well, I won't say lose, but we have $534,000. So how are you going to make all that?
All right. Well, think of this for a second. I'm open 7 days a week. 7 days a week, 364 days. We close for Christmas. I think we close one other day, maybe New Year's. I staff it with roughly 5 people. Right now, it's slow time of year, 5 people. 7 days a week. And our hours are not 8 hours. We go from, early ops the other morning, we were there at 4:30 in the morning. So we're there 7 days a week. So if it's snowing, we're not really dealing with any airplanes. Planes are not flying in, planes are not flying out when they're snowing. So I have my 5 people that are there. Now we're helping out, shoveling around our hangars. We have to do 5 foot in front of our hangars. But it's a situation where I have 91 employees where I can pull from my grounds and maintenance crews, and I can bring them over when there's a snow event and help out with my current guys. Again, like I said, we're already staffed there, and we're already doing a lot of the duties that are specifically laid out on the airport plan. My income has been growing because of the hangars that I've built. The jet traffic is the highest it's been in 8 years, and we keep building that. But a lot of it's being built because I'm creating this. because I'm putting the infrastructure in, I'm basing these jets here, they're taking the fuel from here, so I'm actually growing the base. I'm growing the value of the airport, so that's how I'm gonna do it. There's not a lot of money into it, though, you're right. But I also have been, like I've said over and over, this community has been very good to me over the last 35 years. I've done very well with not just Warren County, but Washington County, Saratoga County, and I'm happy to give back. You know, people said, why are you doing a restaurant? Everyone knows there's not a lot of money in a restaurant, but you know what? The restaurant's a very nice restaurant. I hope everyone gets a chance to visit it. But again, there's certain things that I'm proud of. I'm proud of Warren County, and this is the gateway to the Adirondacks when people fly in here. And if anyone saw what the airport was 10 years ago and what it is today, and that's why I encourage, I'd like to meet with everyone to get you out there so you can see. So.
And your idea is, obviously, with or without the extension, this goes forward. I mean, you want it to go forward. The extension's not a deal breaker in your mind?
No, it's not a deal breaker with me. No, I've already made a substantial investment. I kept my word 8 years ago when the board gave me the FBO. I said I'd keep building. Here I am right now. I keep building. We've got buildings that are falling down out there that are in terrible shape, and I'm very happy to rebuild them, providing I get a 40-year land lease. I'll, again, private money, I'll go rebuild them.
And one final question. At least I just lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
To that extent, Rich, if I can also just ask Ross, what is the status on that grant application for those T hangers?
The state is, we're still waiting on word from the state. They haven't actually accepted the applications.
Do you think you could reach out and just try to get an update on that, so perhaps we could kick this over to facilities to
We
talk
have
about
just recently. That's imminent, they say.
This is a state grant, not a federal, right?
Correct.
Supervisor Sobel?
Thank you, Supervisor Steven. I guess at first blush, this looks great. What can we expect next as far as the committee meeting? I don't want to see this turn into what we saw at Westmount. Rich is right, things do take a long time, and I think 2 years should be plenty to have this group or our board make some sort of a rendering, some kind of decision.
I think that's a very legitimate question, and I would refer it to our county attorney to tell us what our next steps would be.
I think upon direction from the committee and the board, I don't think it necessarily needs a resolution from the board, but upon direction from the facilities committee, then Julie Butler and Ross and Jeff and I would probably get our heads together based on that direction and come up with outline of what a request for proposals would look like, what elements the committee would like to see in that. And we could start that process and begin to put it out for interest from the any contracts would be interested. Certainly, Mr. Schermerhorn has indicated that he's all about this. Whatever other entities are interested in coming to the table.
I also recall at our facilities meeting, Jeff, you had mentioned a proposal of a municipal operated airport. And while I haven't heard a lot from supervisors regarding that, I know you did bring that up. And we had, at facilities, decided that perhaps in March, we have a presentation from both you and Ross regarding what a municipal operated airport would look like without the FBO running all of the operations there. Is that still something that you had a desire to present at the March advisory committee meeting?
I saw that on the schedule. I didn't have a desire to present that, but the notion of the county taking over the FBO operation actually was brought up by supervisors a couple of years ago. I think Supervisor Westcott was the first. There are counties that have transitioned from private FBOs to county FBO operations. We've talked to some of them. One of the my counterparts out in Genesee County did that a few years back, where they went from running a deficit to running a net positive. So those would be the things that we'd be looking at, seeing how they did it, how they structured it. And then it would be important too for the committee to know we really would probably need to do an audit of the current operation, the contract provides for that we can audit that. I don't know that the treasurer's office has done an audit, but I think we would wanna have a full.
They submit to us and we review what they've done.
Right.
That's done annually.
So we would wanna do, get a look at the revenues that are coming in, and then, we would generate, an option for municipal FBO.
Would this committee then like to stay on schedule in terms of March and hear from Jessica and Ross regarding, what's taking place in another community? And then, my suggestion would be in April, make a recommendation over to the facilities committee as they start to determine their RFP committee, and working with both the county chairman, administrator, county attorney, and those people identified to be much like the discussions that took place during Westmount. But I think we all recognize that we sold a nursing home, because we weren't in the business of running it anymore. The railroad runs, privately as well, while still being municipally owned, and that this has been a topic, and many of our supervisors have brought it up in discussions. And Rich, I wanted to take an opportunity to really thank you for that increased communication, for being willing to come here today, have these discussions, and again, one of the goals of this group has to be, and will continue to be, an effective, successful private partnership in increasing that communication. And, I'm encouraged by just our 2 meetings of that dialogue that is now being shared amongst us. But I wanted to throw back to the committee and see are you comfortable heading in that direction, or would you prefer a different direction?
That's fine. I actually do have a question for Mr. Scammahorn. I've been out there and checked out the facilities. Can you put a number on the total investment that you put into the airport so far?
Probably close to $5 million.
5 million, and much of that is by way of these additional buildings, the hangars that are on the tax rolls?
Yes, they're all in the tax rolls, yep.
And
they're all assessed by Town of Queensbury.
okay, and assuming this moved forward, we worked out all the wrinkles and so on, and this were to become a 20-year lease, you would, I don't want to make the assumption, but I would presume that you would continue building to accommodate growth, correct?
Yes, absolutely. As I stand in front of you right now, if I am willing right now on building number 9 to rebuild, and building number 11, I'm willing to rebuild both those that are in poor shape.
And that's in the current state, regardless.
Current state right now. If just like you've done in the past, you award me a 40-year lease, regardless what happens going forward, I will rebuild those right now. They're desperately in need of repair. And if this is something you wanted to reschedule next meeting, we could work it out. I'll rebuild those right now. So, and hopefully I've proven myself so far with everything you've seen. I've done a substantial amount over there.
And just a follow-up, just to make sure that I'm not working under assumptions here. So, in the future, you would continue to invest to accommodate growth, attract growth, and that investment, while being reducing the operating cost in itself, is actually going to be producing more for the tax base, correct?
Yes, not only for the tax base, but also keep in mind that everything circled in yellow are on 40-year land leases where I'm obligated for 40 years. I pay a land lease of, I think it's 25 cents a square foot for these. Now, some might argue and say, geez, that's not a lot of money. But on the other hand, it is a lot of money because I'm generating income. These are on the tax rolls. I'm being assessed, and no one else is doing it. No one, since I've been here, has stepped up to do anything for this airport. So if I was to stop, I'd want to bet that I don't think you'd see. I'm not tooting my horn. I'm just saying if I stopped, I'm not sure there'd be others that would step up right away to continue this growth. And I'm happy to do it. And again, I'm thankful to the board that has supported me all these years.
And we too are very thankful, Rich. Just one last question from Supervisor Beatty before personnel.
I think you just answered it, but, we put the RFP out, your gut feeling, do you think anybody else will even respond?
No, I don't think so because, and again, we have to understand we can't give exclusivity to this airport. Someone could come tomorrow and say to Mr. Dewberry, hey, I want to open an FBO. This board has to. This is an airport that's federally funded, but with the substantial amount of investment I put in here, with all the infrastructure, I know what it takes. It's one thing to build it, which I'm fortunate I know how to build. The other thing is to know how to run it, which I'm fortunate I know how to do that too. I already have all this in place, so it would be an awful, and we don't have the kind of growth that would support probably someone coming in trying to duplicate what I've done. We hope that would happen. I would hope that would happen someday, but right now I'm the best we have, I think, and I'm happy to continue it.
So at this point, we do have a 10 o'clock personnel meeting. Again, Rich, I want to thank you very much for coming in and speaking with us. Of course, for our advisory committee members, we will meet again in our regular scheduled meeting next month. And at that point, we'll hear from Jeff and Ross with additional information. We'll make the referrals over to facilities that Brian has so previously been writing down to me. And, move forward with that. So thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.